So as I said, my name is Joy Watkins. I'm TOC's content chair for this upcoming year, for this year and this upcoming year, and we have a pretty good schedule for today. We're going to begin with an overview of TOC and a welcome discussion with our TOC chair, Shannon Adams, and then we're going to segue into a learning and development showcase with a seed team from the Defense Information Systems Agency. We're also going to have Amy, our CIO. She's going to talk about our new website. If you haven't seen it yet, a lot of exciting things coming for not only the conclusion of our 25-26 year, but our upcoming 26-27. A lot of things that we're changing and shaping up and making it better for our 2C members. And I will turn it over to Shanda.
Thank you very much, Joy. Appreciate it. And I need someone to move the slides for me. So if I could get the next slide, please. All right, so just a little bit of background for us as the Training Officers Consortium. For those of you who aren't really familiar with us, we are a group of learning and development professionals across agencies, span multiple federal agencies. We also include professional industries and academia. We come together in order to share best practices, or share ideas, recognize best practices, and really, in general, just learn from each other. Training Officers Consortium started in 1938, way back when. And it started with a group of L&D professionals that were federal employees who really had like one-man shops. So they came together to share those practices that they were implementing and build their community. It has expanded quite a bit. I believe our first conference was in about 1945, and we've had some kind of major event each year. So we really do try and be that connective tissue for our learning and development professionals. And that rolls us into our mission. So the next slide there, which we provide professional development programs for L&D professionals, mainly in our federal government sphere, where we have some elements of our L&D, profiles that are a little bit different than the private sector. We are supported well by our professional agencies or professional organizations that also have an L&D component. So we'll often have partnerships with them who will bring learning and development elements to our organization. We have belief that community is how we grow. So we want to take time to come together, and you'll see that throughout the year, we'll have not only these learning events, but we'll also have some social opportunities to come together and really get to know each other, because we want to make sure that we, as individuals, are supporting one another in our careers and our personal adventures. So that is our mission and our vision. Let's talk a little bit about what we're going to look like. We have experienced the same, issues, I guess, let's put it there, that everyone has in this past year. We really got knocked around a little bit, so it took us a moment to regather, regroup, and determine our way forward. We reached out to our community, and the community was overwhelmingly in support of continuing our opportunities with the Training Officer Consortium. So we kind of revamped and revitalized some of what we had offered in the past, but reshaped it in order to make it palatable in the current environment. So you'll see here we have 4 major sections of our L&D our professional growth portfolios. First, we're going to be offering you some growth guilds. What are those? Those are 60 to 90-minute webinars. They will be focused on increasing L&D knowledge and skills, and we are looking to impact your competencies. So really align with your individual development plans. Those 60 to 90-minute sessions are going to offer, best practices, tools, really some techniques that you can have some takeaways with. Then we're going to offer some solution sessions. What do those look like? Well, those are going to be what we used to call our deep dives. So those are going to be some opportunities for structured workshops that'll tackle those real world challenges, have some opportunities to come together. And this year, we're going to take a look into the book Disrupt Everything and Win. So we're going to kind of utilize that as our theme for our solution sessions. The Learning and Development Showcase, that's what you're here today to see, is a Learning and Development Showcase. This is where we share best practices. So we learn about those exceptional and successful projects that we want to highlight, so others in organizations that do not currently utilize those methodologies can learn a little bit more about them and possibly, integrate them into their organizations as well. And then, as I spoke of earlier, our much more, our plus there is exclusive learning events that possibly we have in partnership with those who support our organization, that we may have social events. So we're talking about putting together a little spring fling get together just so we can reconnect with our community. Those types of things and sponsored events are in our much more. And let's talk a little bit about some of those dates or timelines for these elements of our 2026 year. So you'll see our Growth Guild, we're trying to stay on kind of a recurring timeline. So our Growth Guild with TOC is going to be the first Tuesday of the month. It'll be from 11 a.m. to 12:30 Eastern Time. And what we're going to focus on in the Growth Guild this year is our ATD capability model. So each of the Growth Guild will be focused around a portion of that growth of that capability model. Quarterly, we'll have solution sessions. So I talked about those being a little bit more in depth, 2.5 to 3 hour late morning workshops. And those are going to be focused around our Disrupt Everything book. So we will be opening those up to anyone who has the book, which we did have a keynote speaker at our previous conference last year, and everyone received a copy of the book there. But if you don't have it, we suggest you have a copy or acquire a copy for those discussions. The L&D Showcase, again, which is what you're here today to see, will be on the third Thursdays of each month, again, from 11 to noon Eastern Time. And then, as I mentioned, we do one really large event each year. The past few years, or the past several years, we've had it as a 3-day conference. We have pared that back this year, recognizing the current climate of our L&D federal space. And we will have a single day all learning summit in Philadelphia at the DoubleTree. So that will be on Friday, August 7th. We will have a pre-summit reception on August 6th. Do note that in the past, we have provided lodging for our 3-day events. Lodging is not included in the price, and we will be discussing our promoting those prices for you on our website. So speaking of our website, I'm going to turn it over to Amy, who is our Chief Information Officer, and she is going to give you a sneak peek of our new website. So Amy, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Shanda. So you might be wondering what we've been doing during Snowcrete. We've had an interesting winter here in the DMV, the DC area. So we've been working diligently behind the scenes to refresh some of TOC and their website. So this is just a quick sneak peek. There's going to be more information coming. And our website is the same website that you would normally access, would be TOC, trainingofficers.org. And I just dropped it in the chat. But let's see, here is our new website, our new face to TOC. So you will see that has a little bit more information. It still has some of our traditional concepts that we've had before, where we have our annual content or our free content, where you can go and access any of the previous recordings that will be accessible to anyone still. Have more information about the annual summit coming up, just kind of, saving those dates for you. And more information around that agenda will be forthcoming as we kind of flesh that out. And of course, and Shanda mentioned, our mission is still the same. We're here for you. We really want to, partner with you and become this professional practice lab for federal trainers. So you can come in and you can practice things. So we did kind of create a little bit of a different tier, a different pricing structure, and that is available on our website. We have two different things. We have a membership or a registration that would give you access to the website and all of the functionality of the website. And then you can pair that with the summit for one low cost, or you can purchase separately, depending on what your preference is. So in the past, our website didn't have a members only access piece. So now it does. And this is what you're going to find in the members only. So this page right here is our public access page. You'll get access to our webinars and information. And as you register, you would sign into the dashboard up there. And we have a couple of different, broke it down to a couple of different portals, a couple of different areas of interest. So you've got a federal learning portal where we have developed case studies. So some are AI driven, and then some are kind of question answer driven. That's going to give you a little bit of time to practice some of those real world challenges that we as federal trainers face. So you could come in, you might have an issue with, hey, my boss just told me we don't need another training, or we don't have time for training. How can you work through an interactive conversation with the system to kind of frame your responses so you can get the best response given to your supervisor based on some pushback that you might receive? So it's a fun little activity. So again, we have it based on AI, and then we also have a piece of it that would be just kind of like a question and answer and give you a score on how well you thought through the process or thought through the scenario. We will we'll have an in-basket activity as well. So we're all faced with all these emails facing us every day. We come in, we've got 500 emails, and then sitting there and you've got another 200 more. How do we process these? How do we delegate, or how do we, figure out which ones are a priority? So an in-basket activity is just that. It's going to help you kind of work through your thought process on emails and in basic emails and meetings and stuff like that. So it's kind of a fun activity, but also you're learning and thinking through these things. We are going to have some micro learning activities, so little snippets of learning that you can come in and take a look at. We'll do some more marketing for the website. We'll have a couple how-to videos as well on the site, so you can access that and see the system at work. And our goal is to but we have some ideas for some certifications and other courses available to you as well. And then, so that's just our federal learning portal. So we have a whole nother section that would be for our federal exchange portal. So that's where a lot of our community is going to take place. You're going to interact with folks that are registrants. You can even select a consultation with one of our board members. Kind of right now, as Shanda mentioned earlier, that TOC was developed because a lot of people were in a one-person workspace, developing training, designing training, delivering training, evaluating training, all of the things. So what our goal is to be there for you as federal trainers or learning development professionals, so you can come in, and if you have questions, we're going to help walk you through various things. And we have an innovation sandbox. So, a lot of times in my previous jobs, I would have my core group of people that I would say, hey, here is something that I've been working on. Let's, how does this work? Do you think we could change something? And so this is what the innovation sandbox would be, is you could come in here and share an idea and get some ideas from your colleagues that are registrants as well. We also have discussion forums, a lot of things going on in the federal government, a lot of quick changes that you need to, quickly say, hey, does anybody have this new policy on supervisor training? Has anybody implemented this? How are you making it work for your organization? How are you sending it out? Managing the change aspect as well. So there's all sorts of things that we have available for you using the membership subscription. And we're really excited to continue the community that we've built and continue on, really being the space to share. And I remember, back in the day, I would go to the OPM Wiki. That's kind of an old concept, but it was a great resource for me to go there and get various NAH is doing this great supervisory training. I'd take a look at that, and then I would say, oh, FEMA is doing this other great training. How can I make that work for my agency? One other thing that we were also exploring is that, some people are DISC certified professionals and other certifications. And so how can we, if at my agency, they can't pay for me to go get DISC, but I would really like to offer it at my agency, I can come here, and this would be a great place to kind of share our resources and work together, maybe do a presentation or a session facilitation at another agency, of course, supervisory approval. But we have so much more. We're really excited to jump back in and get TOC running again. We kind of, as Shanda, I think probably many of you received her message that about thawing out from Snowcrete, right? So here we are, we're here, we're ready, and we are excited. Happy to answer any questions for you. If you want to just drop them in the chat, that is fine. Check out the website, and if any other questions come up, there is a place where you can contact us. You can also email us at our info@trainingofficers.org email address as well. But we're here for you and excited. Joy, I think that you are up next. Take it away.
That is true. Thank you very much. Go ahead and advance on to the next slide. So what we have in store for our next session, which is actually not going to be our L&D showcase, but our Growth Guild, Authentic Leadership, a self-assessment driven workshop. So this is going to be an interactive Growth Guild session on April 7th from 11 to 12:30, really focusing on Bill George's book, True North. Natalie Layler-Killender, faculty chair of the Senior Executive Fellows, she's going to be presenting that and presenting 2 self-assessments that you'll be taking during the session. And then we'll round out the last 30 minutes of that session with some really deep-seated discussion on how can we use this information moving forward in our own organizations and for ourselves. This falls under the first capability, of building personal capability on their ATD's capability model and focusing on your own personal growth. And we look forward to you guys registering for that one. That is available for registration as well. And then for today, who we have joining us is the Defense Information Systems Agency SEED team led by Scott Conger. And I'm going to turn it over to Scott, and he'll introduce his team and go over how we present SEED within the agency. Scott.
Fantastic, Joy. And give me just a second to go ahead and share my screen and get all acclimated away here. Let's see here. You guys seeing that?
Yes, we're seeing your the PowerPoint edit.
Not seeing. Let me try this. Let's try this. Here we go. Now what are you seeing?
And now swap your display setting.
There we go. It just took a minute to catch up. Okay.
There we go.
Everybody can hear me okay, see me okay. Well, welcome to our presentation, and thank you so much, Shanda and Amy and Joy, for giving us a few minutes to talk a little bit about the Symposium for Employee Engagement and Development, or as we like to call it, the SEED. Kind of an honor to be here, and I'm going to introduce the team members who are joining us here today in just a second. But before we get to that, I want to start with just a couple of kind of interesting facts. And I've got the references down here, and we will definitely make the slides available to you. And it's probably no surprise to anybody in the room right now today that 92% of employees believe the right kind of formal employee training is favorable in terms of their level of engagement. And I have right kind underlined there because I think what you'll see today during the course of the presentation is that the right kind means that training is not a one-size-fits-all approach. It doesn't work usually, right? And so our quarterly offerings are really varied, not in just in terms of the topics and things that we bring to the symposium every quarter, but the methodologies, how we present it. We'll go into a little bit more of that a little bit later here. 31% of folks out there don't receive any formal training at all. Really hard to believe, right? That an organization can survive and thrive without any kind of a formal training program. And in today's day and age, there's lots of opportunities to do great things outside the current organization that you're currently in, right? So we want to keep folks, right? So retention is important. And the stats bear that out. 76% of employees are going to stay with a company that offers some type of good, formal, continuous training. I put the SEED logo up here, just a real quick mention here. We developed this in coordination with our visual information folks. We'll talk about those folks in a little bit as well when we get to the logistics portion of, how we conduct the SEED. But it really indicates growth, and it's not just professional growth, it's personal growth as well. Everything we do within the SEED aligns with the director's priorities. It aligns with our J15 priorities, our senior executives' priorities, and the senior leadership's vision of professional development. And so we paste that thing everywhere. We use it in our advertising. And we keep this quarterly symposium alive and exciting. So let me briefly introduce the team here. I can't see the camera right now just because I have the presenter view up here, but this is the gang. And Tara and Jen are joining me today. Sharon and Amy had other commitments and couldn't join, but they're just as much as part of the team. Tara's our operations coordinator, and I will tell you, when we first began the SEED, this started as a communications coordinator position. But as things evolved and the responsibilities evolved, it became so much more. As you're going to learn a little bit later, we brought on a new learning management system. We developed exceptional survey and feedback processes. So it became more about operations than just communications. Jen Stout, who is here with us today, and she's been my team coordinator probably since 2019 timeframe. We haven't been doing the SEED that long, but we've been building to this point for a lot of years. I'm the team lead coordinator. The people on the left and right of me on the screen there are the people that keep me straight and keep me going in the right direction. Sharon, she's our automation and registration coordinator, and just has done some phenomenal things on helping us understand data and what it means and whether it's beneficial or not to the program. And then Amy's out there, and Amy's in another one of those positions where it started as just kind of the SharePoint coordinator, but it's morphed into so much more. She works deeply with learning management systems. And we put this team together over the course of time. And I think today's presentation is really about kind of lessons learned. I think Shanna talked about it in the beginning, right? We want to share with you the things we did, the things we learned, the things that made this symposium so successful. And this is the team that really makes it happen. It's definitely not a one-horse show, right? You need a team behind you. This is basically our mission statement here. I won't go over that kind of word for word, but we do execute the symposium over a 6 training day period, kind of a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, followed by a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That seems to work best for us. We have about 19,000 civilian, military, and contractor personnel around the globe. So, we get great numbers that come to the symposium every quarter, and it just keeps getting better and better every time we do it. Mostly we deliver stuff via MS Teams. We have augmented with in-person sessions. We do a lot of hybrid stuff. If we have an in-person guest speaker, we'll do a hybrid event and we'll stream it out to the rest of DISA and DCDC. Lots of mission partners, guest speakers. We're going to talk all about that down the road. And as we move through the presentation today, I want you to keep this in mind, that what we do here at DISA, this program has a $0 budget. We don't have any funding to execute this, and we don't make that an excuse for not building great partnerships and getting great facilitators to bring topics to the symposium. So that's really a testament to all the work that this team has done to keep this thing moving along and keep it fresh. So here's kind of how we're going to unpack things today. First, we're going to look at the evolution of the symposium. So the evolution is going to be a brief history, how we assess the agency needs to make sure that we're training to what our employees need at DISA. The evolution of our registration system and the feedback processes and the surveys, excuse me, it just continues to improve. Blueprint for success, that's how we source the talent, both internal and external facilitators, how we structure the seed, the format, a little bit on logistics. And I say a little bit, there's a lot of logistics that goes into putting together one of these symposiums. And we'll look at marketing communication. Timeline, just a brief, kind of one slide. Pre-symposium actions, post-symposium actions, and then what happens in between, the actual symposium itself. It's a pretty good battle rhythm for us, and it keeps us busy really year-round in one of those categories or another. And then we'll finish it up looking towards the future and, what are we looking at over the next year or two, new ideas, formats. And then I would hope we would get some time for some Q&A. We'll try to move through the presentation here fairly steadily, so that we'll leave a little bit of time at the end for some Q&A. So, and each one of the team members will be coming on camera here and briefing some areas that are applicable to them as well. So, brief history, kind of assessing the needs of the agency. Excuse me. As I mentioned before, we began, Jen and I in 2019. Excuse me, got a little throat thing going on. In 2019 with what we called the Supervisor Symposium. It was something that the director at the time, Admiral Norton, said, hey, we need some supervisory training. She wanted 24 hours of additional training for her supervisors. We were tasked with putting something together. It was nothing like what we see today. It was a one-day event. We did it once a quarter. It was all in-house. We didn't have any capability at that time to stream anything out to our field sites located all around the globe. And we managed to make some improvements in that through 2023. But then we jumped into what we called an employee development symposium. And the employee development symposium was in answer to some of the feedback that we've been getting that, hey, the supervisor symposium is not meeting the needs of lots of the employees that we have out there. So we concurrently, here for a couple of years, conducted the employee development symposiums and the supervisor symposiums. So that meant sometimes we had 6 to 7 events per year, and it was really unsustainable. Then we had some time where, Jen and I said, listen, we need to do something different here, right? We took a little bit of time off. We kind of took the lessons learned from the supervisor symposium, employee development symposium, and we started the symposium for employee engagement and development, and that's what we're doing today. Agency needs assessment. It's real easy to sit back, I think, sometimes and go, hey, this is a great training thing. Let's put this out there and see if it sticks. We didn't take that approach. We conducted lots of focus groups, small group discussions, open to all. We conducted them in a hybrid environment. We heard what the employees had to say, what training was going to be value added to them. We used the feedback from previous symposium iterations. So all the stuff that we had from the employee development symposium and the supervisor symposium. We used that data to kind of determine where we needed to go with the seed. In the government, we have some annual surveys, the DOC survey, which is like the EEOC survey, formal annual survey that they do, and the FEV survey, which is another OPM survey. We brought Sharon on board, and as a team, we looked at that data and we said, what can we garner from this and apply to the seed that is kind of value added? Excuse me. And then we also assess the needs in terms of the kind of an intentional awareness of agency initiatives. So whatever events we had going on, whatever new programs were coming on at the agency, anything that was really driving interest from the employees, we continually asked ourselves, what's going on in the agency that might be of interest to our workforce? There was a time, without getting into any politics, where the cultural awareness months were part of our focus. Because of a new administration, some of that has taken a back seat. It doesn't seem to have impacted our attendance, but those are all things that you can look at as you're doing that kind of agency needs assessment. So let's transition here and talk a little bit about the evolution of the registration system. So what we started with and the limitations. I'm going to take the first part of this, and then I'm going to turn it over to Tara. So we pushed out this archaic kind of first gen registration system that had prevented many employees from registering for sessions. We had a system called the DISA online training system that required at that time not only supervisory approval, but sometimes 2 levels of supervisory approval just to register for a 1-hour training session. And so what that created was, we were leaving thousands over the course of years. We were leaving thousands of registrations on the table because there was so much email floating around, and we just weren't getting supervisory approval for folks to attend. So it prevented many employees from registering for these voluntary professional development sessions. We had multiple surveys. We didn't have actionable data. We didn't really have any repeatable processes in terms of survey and feedback data that showed us any trends. So we had this cumbersome registration process. Then we developed this second generation kind of automated one-stop shop system using our Office 365 licenses. And that kind of resolved it. And at that point, that was kind of the second gen system. We saw this huge increase in registration requests, something like 300% increase. And the system, it utilized MS Forms, it used Power Automate. It automatically added the training to an employee's calendar within about 3 minutes of registration. And so it was a great system. I'm gonna turn it over to Tara right there. She can talk more about this, and then I'll get back online here in just a second.
So yes, as Scott's mentioned, zero budget. So we wanted to create a registration system that would be a lot more user-friendly and functional for our employees using those tools. However, in August of 2025, our agency launched a new learning management system with a lot of really great functionality. And we wanted to migrate to that for our registration system. We did a lot of experimenting with that system to make sure that what we created within the LMS provided the same value, ease of registration to our employees. And our last seed, we actually used the new LMS for a registration system and had great success.
All right. Thank you, Tara. Let me transition back to the feedback and survey. This was another system or another set of processes, I should say, that really underwent a major evolution. And I'm going to talk a little about the limitations, and then Tara will jump back in and talk a little about what we changed. So just really briefly, we moved away from this legacy kind of survey and feedback process. It didn't provide reliable information. It wasn't consistent. I kind of mentioned this during the last slide. There was no way to see valid trends and really make database decisions. You know, back in the day where we had the supervisor symposium, we were literally living on, you know, paper surveys to gather data. And so it was not the right information. We weren't asking the right questions. I wholeheartedly recommend, if you're going to develop a survey system and you're going to get feedback, that you get the right people that understand data and ask questions that you can take and make actionable insights on to, you know, to improve your program. Tara, go ahead and take it from here and talk about maybe what we changed.
So with the system of feedback surveys that we had, there was a certain amount of survey fatigue, I think, that folks were experiencing because facilitators would provide their surveys to attendees and kind of did their own thing. So there was not really any kind of continuity in the types of surveys. And we wanted to provide an opportunity for folks to provide feedback on the program itself. How are we doing? So we created one overarching survey. We were lucky that we had a really great survey tool that had already been purchased for our division. And so we were able to put together a holistic survey to get feedback on both the facilitators and the program itself. Moving into our new learning management system, the LMS actually has functionality within it to provide level 1 evaluations for each session. So what we decided to do was we created a very brief 5-question level 1 evaluation that's tied to every session so that folks can provide immediate feedback on the instructors and the content of the sessions. But we still wanted to have something that provided us with feedback on the program itself. So we built a forms document that allows people to provide feedback on all of the aspects of the program that aren't specific to the sessions. And that will go out to all attendees upon conclusion of the entire symposium.
Fantastic. Thank you, Tara. I think we're going to hear a little bit from Jen now on kind of how we source some of the talent, which is really, you know, one of the biggest pieces of the puzzle. So Jen, take it away.
Thanks, Scott. Yep. So sourcing the talent, definitely, as Scott just said, it's probably the biggest piece to the puzzle for the seed event every quarter. 2 main reasons why. we want to keep things fresh. We don't want to ever try, oversaturate with topics and facilitators and, repeating the same stuff too often. Obviously, there's many things out there that can be shared and can never be shared enough. And so we do think about that. But we don't want to oversaturate. We want to keep things fresh. And then again, we have no money. So anybody who participates as a facilitator or a guest speaker is doing this as a collateral duty or pro bono for sure if they're coming from an external non-government source. And we do get those external components as well. So finding and vetting, we definitely, we take advantage of our internal resources. We have a large agency here with a lot of great talent and a lot of great information just internal to the agency worth sharing and making everybody in the agency aware of. We do have our own facilitator talent and development program where folks can actually go through a very structured course to master their facilitation skills. It is not required by any means to be a facilitator at the seed, but we do have something in existence that can be used as a tool for folks who would like to facilitate to hone those facilitation skills. So it's a great program that we have. Again, not part of seed, but another thing within workforce development we offer. We're not facilitator police, so we definitely don't go to the subject matter expert and then expect them to present to us and go through any kind of, critiquing, extensive critiquing, I should say. There's no, grading, all that stuff, right? We find the subject matter expert and we inform them of what the seed is all about and how it works and what their role would be and their expectations and this and that. And then we use that individual to present the information. Very rarely do we get negative feedback, but again, we do have the feedback sources through surveys and comments that can educate us as the operators of the seed on, hey, we had this facilitator, but maybe there's certain things that weren't so great. And if appropriate, if constructive, then we will provide that feedback to the facilitator in hopes of improvements or seeing about somebody different going around. Again, it's all voluntary. There's no expectation for perfection from anybody, but we do, of course, focus on that professionalism anywhere we go. Content creation, we take a lot in terms of our feedback from our participants and the agency to kind of know what is the agency looking for right now. A big thing over the last year has been AI, right? So we take that information and then we, Scott, myself, the team, and even others will do the research to figure out, okay, who can we use as good sources for AI? What can we talk about? Who can we bring in from what establishment or what organization or what entity? And we kind of go around that way once we find a good topic. As well, and what we have really evolved into and has been a huge, I don't want to say it was a goal, but I think in a lot of ways it wasn't an intentional goal. Like Scott and I didn't have to write it down or anything going forth when we started this whole thing. But what we have evolved to is people wanting to come to us to be a part of this as a facilitator. So in the beginning, it was always us going, okay, who can we talk to? All right, HR, what topics do they have? Who can we focus on? Or other things in the cyber world, who can we reach out to? Or this, that, or the other, right? Now, the news on the seed is out there in a lot of ways. And folks are coming to us, and not just internal facilitators, but we're getting the externals, and we're using other great programs within the agency, whether it's our coaching program, our mentoring program, throw it out there, other programs where through those programs, people get wind of seed, and therefore you make a connection and you start a conversation, and then you got another facilitator on another great topic to come in and talk. So it started very, very small, and Scott and I doing a lot of, hey, knocking on doors, begging people, kind of, can you come be a part of this and focus on this and help us build out this program, to now, again, people are coming to us. We have created a great network of external connections to help with these events. We have connections with the Naval Academy, NSA, other military branches, veterans organizations. We are using the Marine Corps University down in Quantico, Virginia now. We engage with TSP and other federal government, DFAS, other federal government benefits organizations, which, by the way, if you're curious, always a hot topic. Everybody wants to know their benefits, right? That's clearly a big thing. Again, coaching programs and whatnot. And now we've gotten through, again, these coaching and mentoring connections. We're connecting with other private organizations to have speakers come in, again, on a pro bono way to present some really great topics. So it's always, again, the big hurdle, the big piece that Scott and I particularly spent a lot of time in the beginning of each seed buildup to create that pool of facilitators and those topics. And again, it just continues to get bigger and better. So that's kind of how we go through with the talent development. And then talking about, let's see, going into the next thing there, Scott, in terms of the structure and the format. So Scott mentioned a little bit already about the 6 training days, 2 weeks type format. And that again, that kind of evolved into that from when we started doing this as a single day in-house event with a supervisor symposium. And then we had the pandemic. So Scott and I had to scramble to figure out how to transition everything from in-person to virtual. And we did that for a couple of years. And then we scrambled to try and come up with a more of a hybrid way, which is where we're at now with regards to teams and in-person and again, the hybrid connection. Everything we do, there is a hybrid component to it because the majority of our audience is still coming to us virtually. And we are global, as I believe Scott mentioned before. And this accommodates everybody globally across our agency. Session lengths, when we put these sessions together, we tell folks, hey, you could do an hour type informational session. You could do a 3-hour workshop. You could do something in between. We also do series where somebody might come in. We did a project management series before where, there's multiple topics. And so we present them, one topic kind of each day, but offer it out as a series and advertise it that way. So there's that involved, but the session length can vary. We, of course, want to accommodate all of DISA's employee base. And like I said, we are global. So we have people all over the world. So we want to accommodate time zones as much as we can, which is why we do a lot of the reason we do that 2-week morning, afternoon type dynamic so that folks can really go in and through almost like a course catalog schedule, pick and choose topics that work for them and work with their schedule in terms of timing. We will record a lot of sessions, so folks who can't participate will have a way to view and check out the material later. And we try to avoid as much overlap as possible because we do get folks who just really want to take advantage of all this. And so sometimes when you overlap, you miss out here or there. Let's see, what else am I missing here? The format, again, it varies, as I talked about, with what we offer. We've done leadership panels where we will engage with our senior leaders to come in and talk just about leadership, just leadership in general, their experiences, their testimonials, answer questions, things like that. Fireside chats, we've done that one-on-one with some of our senior executives. Again, the workshops are a big thing. We started doing some offsite tours. Scott led one the last thing we had to WACA, which is one of our AdCon departments, if you will, the White House Communications Agency, and he took a group of folks down there to do a tour of the facility. We do live team events, which is different than just a regular teams event because that brings in potentially hundreds of individuals. We do interactive events as much as we can. And again, we try as much to do in person along with just the virtual stuff. And we always offer coaching. So coaching, we have a really robust coaching program here at the agency. And coaching is just continuing to expand in DOW. So we want to take advantage of that and run with it when we can. And so that's always something that we advertise as Seed, is that you can take advantage of one-on-one coaching to then hopefully lend into more long-term coaching relationships that the agency can take advantage of. So that's kind of the how we get the talent and then how we structure it out. And then there's so much more logistical stuff that goes into it, and I don't want to talk about it, so I'm going to let Scott talk about it. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Jen. Yeah, this is this is my bread and butter. I don't know. I guess I was a logistician in the Air Force many years ago, and so maybe that's where I get this. But there's so much that that goes into putting something together, right? It's not just about finding a classroom and finding a facilitator. There's lots of things to jump through, I think, to make it successful. Conference center and room reservations are part of it. You know, it's a big building, but, you know, book early. So when we do have in-person guest speakers or when we have interactive events like a couple symposiums ago, we had a counterintelligence elicitation information session, right? Needed a big room to do that. It was an in-person thing. We had an internal facilitator that lived in that world. And so we make these conference center reservations. We make room reservations around the building as we need to. Most of the rooms that we select have the capability, if we need to also stream an in-person session out to the field sites around the world. Oftentimes we'll bring folks in from other organizations or other branches of service. And as you can imagine, Defense Information Systems Agency has a pretty robust security presence to keep the right people in the building and the wrong people out. So there's a process to go through, and here it's called the VET system. You know, it's a visitor entry system where we have to gather some information from individuals outside the agency, maybe coming in to do a presentation. We give that to security folks. They do their thing. They give them access badges as needed, and we keep track of those folks while we're in the building. We don't do much in person without talking to our protocol folks. So when we do have a guest speaker, especially a VIP, you know, there's flags in the rooms. There's a form to fill out for VIP parking. Oftentimes we'll set up an office call with senior leaders if we have somebody from outside the agency that wants to chat with one of our senior leaders. So we'll make that happen during the course of the event as well. Really, I know it's, you know, it sounds self-serving, but we want to squeeze as much information and time as we can get with some of these folks. You know, introducing them to senior leaders not only assists in that, but I think it keeps the seed alive in the minds of our senior leadership here too as well. Like, hey, this is a pretty cool thing. As Jen mentioned before, we're starting to explore some off-post tours. The White House Communications Agency was very successful, so there's vehicle registrations that need to happen for that and some approvals that need to happen for that. Photography and videography. We anytime we can, we get good pictures and good video inside the building when we have those hybrid events, those in-person speaking events. We use those oftentimes in post-seed articles, and I'll talk a little bit about, you know, how we do that piece of it here in a minute as well. And we have historical videos of guest speakers for those who can't attend, and so sometimes we will, and of course that requires, especially for these folks who don't are not employed at DISA, requires permissions from the speakers themselves to make sure that we can go ahead and share that. Visual information work orders. You know, we get a lot of technical assistance behind the scenes to stream some of these sessions to the rest of DISA. So we have a whole team sitting back in a big room with big screens, and they run that piece of it for us. So a lot of logistics that go into conducting an event and making it successful. A great marketing and communications plan, excuse me, I think is also essential. Prior to each seed, usually a couple months before the next seed takes place, the team will submit work orders for banners. And you see a couple examples here. The one on the left there is just the top of that banner, but the complete banner is usually about 6 foot tall and about 2.5 feet wide, and we post them throughout the building, and it has the schedule, it has the title and the time and the facilitator. And this is just a good way to get the information out on what's coming up for the next seed. We use posters in the building when we have guest speakers. Oftentimes we will ask their permission to use their professional photo, and so we'll do some advertising within the building. We have a DISA TV system, so we'll have these short ads on DISA TV flashing up generally about 2 to 3 weeks before the symposium will start the actual marketing campaign. But there's a significant lead time up until then for our VI folks to develop what they need to develop for us. The DISA Dateline is our kind of agency newspaper, right? It's just on our homepage. And so we'll do online articles. There's a lead time to author the article, to approve it. And again, we schedule it to run about 2 weeks prior to the seed. We'll generally try to do a post-seed article, ideally, and just highlight how great the symposium was, right? Again, we're trying to keep that in the news cycle, I guess, if that's the right term. So pre-articles, general information. We'll generally put the link to sign up on the learning management system. We'll highlight the themes, the guest speakers, the facilitators. I'll give you an example for the seed that's coming up. We are doing a kind of series on digital force protection where we're going to have 5 or 6 facilitators from outside the agency talk about how you can protect yourself and your kids and your parents and against all the cyber threats that are out there. And we'll often highlight those folks in the articles as well. Again, the post-seed articles, and then sometimes we'll do public affairs interviews. If we have a guest speaker come in, we'll have our public affairs folks do a short video interview with them. Again, it's a historical piece of what we did, and we can use it in the future as well to kind of call attention to the seed. Jen and I have even done in the past, much to Jen's chagrin, some short video shorts, right, to introduce the new seed campaign. When we first kicked it off, Jen and I went in the studio and stood in front of the green screen, and through the magic of all that professionalism back there, they put out a short advertisement for us. So it was pretty cool. Jen mentioned here, or I think I mentioned maybe earlier, that all this kind of takes place in phases. And this is what that looks like. Pre-symposium is about an 8-week process, so about 2 months. This is the facilitator contacts. This is implementing lessons learned from previous symposiums. We always have a post-seed team meeting, and we talk about what went really good and what we could improve upon, and we put in some action items to make the thing better next time. I don't think we talked about the bookings link, so I'm just going to go back to that real quick. But we use a bookings link to allow facilitators to book their sessions. Essentially, it's like booking a session at a doctor's office, right, or an appointment at a doctor's office. We send the link, they click on the link, they choose a 45-minute session, hour session, 90-minute session, what date works for them. And it saves so much back and forth email trying to coordinate dates. So all of this stuff, I'm not going to go through all of this here. We use a facilitator questionnaire, which helps us gather the data for the facilitator topic, the title, if they need assistance with somebody to help them with the chat or some technical assistance, right? If they need a moderator. We ask all the right questions. We send that out to them as well. We send out a checklist that just has upcoming dates and due dates on things to keep them in the loop. We make them part of a facilitator support channel in our SharePoint area. Creates a mini community of practice for facilitators to ask questions. Generally before each seed, we'll do a facilitator brief, just kind of a last minute get together about a week before the seed kicks off and says, hey, this Does anybody have any questions? And so the pre-symposium period is super busy. Then we have the execution phase, basically 2 weeks. Jen kind of already talked about it, right? And we are there to provide assistance, answer questions, deal with any technical glitches. And then, you know, we get a few days to kind of catch our breath. And then we start going into, you know, feedback and, you know, facilitator feedback. We analyze the metrics. We'll start to author and publish the post-symposium article. We'll deliver an after-action brief to our division leadership, just to keep them in the loop on what's going on and gain any insights they might have. And then we post all this historical data into the Seed SharePoint site, and we jump right back into it. So busy times, fun times. You'll never be bored, and that's kind of the symposium timeline. Last slide here, I think, before we open it up to questions, and we're in pretty good shape. We're at about 41 minutes or so. Institutionalizing the processes. So I will tell you that it's challenging. One of our great ideas has been for a while to do a standard operating procedure and to do kind of a playbook, so that those who come after us kind of have an idea of you know, how we do this and why it's successful, and you know, kind of the checklist of good things to do. It's challenging because we've had this rapid evolution of the symposium, and we live in this, you know, world of continuous improvement. So it doesn't mean it's an unreachable goal, but there's been so much going on, even since recognition with the TAC Award here recently. Now we've got this new learning management system, right? So we're continually learning lessons. So we'll get to that piece, I think, eventually. But right now we're still in the learning process in terms of, you know, the standard way to do business. And we've always got a new great idea as well. And so continuous improvement is always important, right? New topics, new ideas. We're going to continue to expand the network of facilitators that Jen was talking about. And she mentioned it already, but I think it's worth mentioning again that there was a real sense of success, I think, when people started coming to us. When you get to the point where you have to, you know, say, hey, we don't have room this time, but we'll get you on the next one, right? That's a good feeling, right? It's a good problem to have. You know, we're going to continue to, you know, seek out outside participation, new perspectives. When Jen and I first started this, we, you know, in our perfect world, we wanted to take one of these events on the road each year and do the other 3 here at the agency. However, you've heard it mentioned before, we don't have a budget right now. So if that coffer ever opens up, if we can ever get a budget and get some travel funds, we'd love to take this thing on the road and do week 1 at a field site within DISA, and come back to headquarters and finish up the seed. So so more to come on that. That is all I think I have before we open up for Q&A. So Jen, Tara, anything you want to go back, get a second on, anything we missed here?
Yeah. Hey, Scott, I just wanted to add one thing. And I think with regards to outside participation, and in addition to building and continuing to build that network of facilitators participating from externally, we are looking in regards to other agencies being participants as the audience for these sessions as well. We have gotten a lot of inquiries and feedback from folks outside of DISA who have gotten wind of SEED, whether it's through the coaching programs again or the mentor, whatever it might be, and saying, how can we tap into that? Can we join some of these sessions when you offer the SEED? And so it's something we have talked about. We've had very micro participation for very specific reasons from outside DISA agencies, but to make it an actual true piece of the puzzle, component to the program, is something that we continue to talk about and hope to do down the road. Again, to just only expand SEED even more by allowing those outside of DISA and other government agencies to participate as well. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully that's something closer to now than down the road we'll be able to launch.
That's a great point, Jen. Thank you so much for that. I did kind of completely miss that piece, but yeah, we would love to do that. We actually have a coaching program right now. Here's Jen mentioned earlier, a very robust coaching program, ICF certified coaches here at the agency. And they've experimented with bringing people outside the agency into the coaching chat and choose, which is a quarterly thing, right? So again, great ideas kind of breed great ideas. And then the question is, well, how do we do that with the seed, right? How could we make that happen? There might be some, general counsel, legal hoops to jump through, but it's certainly on the agenda. So thank you, Jen. I appreciate that. Tara, anything?
Nothing to add. I just wanted to let everybody know I'm going to put our email address for our organizational email in case anybody has any questions for us in the future.
Yes, absolutely. And I can't see the chat right here, just the way I have my screens. Is that the seed mailbox, Tara?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. It brings me to one more point before we open it up for questions. Is we have one of the things we did is, and I think this was Tara's idea back in the day, is we developed this seed mailbox so that all members of the team could see all seed related information, and we were all on the same loop. Prior to that, we all were in our own email address stovepipe thing, and Tara was like, "Hey, I got a great idea," and it works really well. So that if Scott's on leave, Jen or Tara or Amy or Sharon can answer, right? So it's the way we primarily communicate for anything seed related. So a great lesson learned, great best practice there. So thank you. Okay, I can't see the chat just because of the way I have my screen set up. But
That's right, Scott.
open to questions. Anybody have anything they'd like to ask, clarify anything?
Yeah, please, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to raise a hand, just so that you guys aren't talking over each other as questions do come up. And again, I want to thank Scott and his team, Tara and Jennifer, for joining us and showcasing how they run their seed so that the rest of us can gain that insight as to how do we do this here at our own agencies. And yes, I'm speaking in the third person, even though I'm part of the Defense Information Systems Agency. And I see a hand from LaDon Williams. Please ask your question.
Hello, thank you so much for sharing this. This is really exciting information. What my question is, when you got started, how, and you may have touched this and I missed it, but how did you get the initial interest going? How did you get the touch point to get people involved and to participate?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I would probably take it back to Admiral Norton, who was our DISA director back in 2019 timeframe, and the initial mandatory requirement. It was a mandatory requirement for supervisors to take 24. And so that's forced fun. So it worked because she was the Admiral and she could do that. But I think that's what generated the, I want to say, initial interest, right? But this is, and I'm glad you asked this question because it's really a good time for us to say that none of what we do in the seed is mandatory. And we generally fill a little over 2,000 seats every quarter. We may have 500, 600, 700 individual contributors taking 2, 3, 4 classes each. So I think the initial interest was kind of forced, right? But it morphed into more of a voluntary participation. And I think that was just due to the fact that we were offering value-added topics. Yes, we used marketing. Yes, we used advertising. We did a lot of, and still do, a lot of relationship building to gain interest. So that's a great question. Tara, Jen, any other thoughts on that about the initial interest to kind of keep people or get people engaged?
I think one of the things that we do that I think people recognize is we take their feedback and we try to improve every single time and give people what they want to see, while also kind of feeling the pulse and figuring out what could we offer that people don't know they want,
Mhm.
you know. And it's been really successful. I think up until the seed began, we had filled about 15,000 seats over 19 employee supervisor symposiums. Since we started the seed, we've had 9 of them, and we've already surpassed that number of seats filled.
Mhm.
So interest has just grown and grown.
Yeah.
Scott, can I share something on that as well?
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, say again.
Go ahead, Darrell.
Hey,
Hey, Drew.
everybody. I'm Darrell Williams. I was here when Seed first started. I'll be here probably after Seed ends. Been here for a long time. I've seen this team grow. It's so amazing. But back to that question, one of the things I think this team did a great job of, obviously feeling the pulse, right, of what's going on. But one thing I love about them too is they reached out to a lot of different organizations that may not have participated in the past. For example, nobody wants to talk to our IG office. Nobody wants to talk to our general counsel. They just don't.
Yeah.
Scott and their team do a great job of going to them and pitching, hey, how would you like 1 hour opportunity to share whatever you want to share? Whether it's trends, how your office can help people versus, being the bad guys. And I can tell you that really opened up because nobody ever approached those individuals before. They just stayed away from them.
Yeah.
And they took it, they ran with it. It really helped out because people were not afraid of the IG anymore. They were like, oh, wow, I didn't know that they actually help people. Right. So I think
Yeah.
the idea of going to organizations that did not know they can have a platform to share whatever it is that they want to share.
Mhm.
And it was tremendous. And then the second thing I want to add is they stay fluid. Our agency, unfortunately, we've had a couple of deaths over the last year. Been really kind of devastating, especially with our field offices because they're away from the flagpole here at Fort Meade. But even though this office, the chaplain office, was kind of busy doing some other things, Scott and his team reached out and said, "Hey, we're about to do another seed. We'd love to get the chaplain office involved." So they never give up on organizations that are too busy. And then now that they came to me, then I was like, "Hey, I would love to do a workshop on, finding the meaning of grief." Again, something that's relevant that everybody can deal with, probably wants to talk about, but not sure how to talk about it.
Yeah.
So, not giving up on other offices and then also staying fluid enough where if there's something big that's coming down the road, Scott and them are ahead of the power curve when it comes to that.
Yeah. I appreciate those words, Darrell. And I'm glad you're here, Darrell, because it gave me another answer, a couple more answers. It's just I had to go back in the data bank about the initial interest in the symposium. And there's a couple other things I think I had forgotten about and didn't mention. So initial interest, especially, we would send training coordinators. We have training coordinators all over the world, and we have a big email list. And we would advertise via email with, "Hey, the symposium's coming up. Here's the link," right? So we do, and we did initially. That was the way we really, really, really got the word out initially. And I will tell you another thing that Darrell showing up reminded me of is Darrell back in the day did a job rotation um, to J15, where Jen and I were the only team members back in the day, and brought new ideas and new perspectives. And then he went back out and did great things at the agency. We have 3 other people I can think of at the agency that came in and did job rotations to assist Jen and I. And I think, I would like to think that helped generate some additional interest in the symposium process as we were building, new ideas and new symposiums and got to the eventual seed. And 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 that was kind of the interim process between, not having enough manpower to do what you needed to do and building kind of this permanent team within the J1. So yeah, thanks for that, Drill. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Yeah, word of mouth is definitely a huge asset, as we, other people hear about it, they take part in it, and they're able to share that with others. One of the questions that we had in the chat was, what do you aspire to do that you haven't been able to do yet?
Yeah, I think what we would like to do is we would like to take it on the road. Was kind of on that last slide there, but I think that's the one of our biggest challenges. I am excited that we can bring such great, talented facilitators from external to the agency in kind of pro bono. But back in the day when we had a little bit of a budget, when Jen and I started the initial symposium, we did have a budget, and we paid for some pretty great facilitators to come in and do sessions. So I think from my perspective, I would like a little bit of a budget so that we can reach out to those folks as well. And I don't think we would quit building the relationships that bring folks to the symposium, kind of pro bono. But I think there is a case to be made for, paying some folks out there that do this professionally to bring sessions or series or whatever it is to the symposium. To tell you how strong the relationship building is, I know some people out there in the audience have heard of Simon Sinek. Simon Sinek did a virtual presentation for us for a very minimal amount of money, which the agency picked up, some like $500 or something, because he has a real soft heart for government service and the Department of Defense and now the Department of War. And so that relationship building will continue, but I'd like a little bit more of a budget. I'd like to see a few more off-site tours. In my perfect magic wand moment, maybe we could do some, delve into the classified realm, and bring some folks in, or conduct some sessions where we could obtain the right clearances for folks within the agency to visit some of the parts of the agency that are currently classified. In other words, you'd have to make sure they had the right clearance and it was valid. I think those are all things that could happen in the future. So we'll just see how it goes. Tara, Jen, any other thoughts on that?
So this kind of falls into that whole budget thing. One thing that I would really love to see is more engagement from the field sites, because we are a global organization and we try to schedule things early in the morning, late in the afternoon to catch different time zones. But if we could get some support at the field sites, to maybe do some local sessions or even just kind of advocate for seed there locally, I'd love to see a lot more participation from those field sites, and a potential roadshow or once a year symposium at a field site, I think would go a long way towards building that. Yeah,
totally agree. Joy's been around long enough to understand when we did the mobile workforce development program, right? It wasn't a symposium as such, but we did travel and provide some leadership and learning and development opportunities at field sites. Again, we had a budget back in the day, but yeah, to your point, Tara, we have tried to engage a little bit more with the field sites. It's a little bit of a tough sell because of the time differences, and we're working on it. I'd like to see a little bit more participation from our military folks, and we're continuing to work on that. So, we ain't no quitters. I'll tell you that. We keep improving by 1% every time, and it's fun. Gives us a goal to work towards. So, yeah.
Yeah. I was right. I've been here long enough that I remember putting together those teams and actually going out to those different field sites, and we learned a lot. So if you yourself are part of a global unit, a global organization, agency, don't forget about your field sites. As Tara has noted that we're trying to bring them in. It's just sometimes difficult. One of the other questions in chat that Tara had already answered revolved around, what kind of topics do we share at the seed, and it's varied. And as Tara noted before, that, you know, when that survey goes out, they really take into account what is being asked of. And so I just got a pretty decent list there. Tara, did you want to add anything else to that?
The list could be forever long, but just trying to think of the things that we see a lot of. Conflict resolution is one that I don't think I put in there that we get asked about a lot. But beyond that, kind of those like general overarching leadership communications, those benefits sessions, and then those more mission focused topics. You know, it's a lot, and we really try to accommodate.
Yeah, the broad categories I think are leadership, management, supervision, human resources, and personal communication and development. That's the big, I guess, 5, right? So inside of that, there's a huge focus on essential skills, coaching, you know, crucial conversations. You know, we probably got, I think I looked the other day, over the last 3 quarters, we have offered 69 different topics, right? So you think about that, you know, that's a lot of variation in what we deliver. We have never, ever done the same thing, the same exact schedule twice in a row. Now, we may repeat some sessions that are very popular, but it's never going to be the exact same schedule. And I think that is what still generates interest in folks. As Jen mentioned, things like TSP and retirement. We worked with the Federal Retirement Thrift Investment Board. They're going to do 3 webinars for us for the next seed, right, on investments and contributions and pre-separation, pre-retirement TSP planning. Those are always very well received. We've done stuff on hiring. We've, you know, I mean, the list is pretty extensive, and the course catalog just kind of keeps building. So yeah, it's a very eclectic group of topics, and they're really based on, you know, what's important to your audience, right? Just a basic premise of good instruction. So
exactly, that's great. You know, looking at your audience base of who you are serving and trying to bring in, as you said, that eclectic, that broad reach of, we need to make sure we're hitting as many people as we can. So as you look at your own agencies, what types of topics would fit you? It might not just be one-sided. And the fact that the team goes out and finds those external sources that impact us, like DFAS, you know, our money, you know, reaching out to a retirement board and saying, hey, you know, do you want to, or can you, is definitely something that has expanded with SEED since the first supervisor symposium that was put together following focus group. So as love it. Not just because I'm part of DISA and I'm, you know, in the same division as this team, but just overall, it's a great program. We do have about 7 minutes remaining. I don't see any additional questions in the chat, and I don't see any hands raised. Does anyone have any more questions? And if any questions do come up after the session is over, Tara has posted two items within the chat. One is the SEED's mailbox. So if you have any questions, please reach out to the team. They have a lot of knowledge of, you know, they have a lot of lessons learned over the years since we started with the first symposium, all the way down to the next one coming up in May. So they can help in that regard, from having absolutely no budget to a little bit budget back to no budget. So they can share their, that they should be able to answer any wild question you may have. The other item that she has also posted in chat, there's a question asking if she could share the evaluation, and she has also shared that quick 5-question level 1 evaluation quiz within the chat as well for download.
excellent.
Seeing if I don't have any more hands or questions coming in, I want to give a big thank you to Scott, Tara, and Jen for joining us and representing DISA's SEED team. Again, as Sean Reen noted above, they were the award winners last year at our last year's awards on virtual training team. or virtual training program. So thank you so much for joining us, and almost last minute jumping in and being our first presentation and showcase of the remaining part of the 25-26 year. And actually, it is our first event for the 25-26 year.
Nice. Well, thank you, Shonda. Thanks, Amy. Thanks, Joy. Thanks for everybody out there that hung with us over the course of the last hour or so. Really appreciate it. And as Joy mentioned, always here to chat with you about ideas, share what we can, and help help you develop your programs, whatever they look like. And so please feel free to reach out to us. Love to hear from you. Thanks very much.
And for everyone in attendance, please don't forget to explore our new website for the TOC and register for the next event. As our speakers start flooding in, we're going to start posting the next events on those dates we stated earlier on the first Tuesdays and the third Thursdays.
Thanks, Joy.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right.